You like to ride, so do it. Probably the most exciting saying of these young people. For them, gleaming chrome, a polished iron horse are faithful friends and a long journey. This is all one needs for complete happiness. Someone calls them kings of the roads, but they call themselves bikers. How to become free and touch the wind? The heroes of the program Generation UA know the answer.
Быть байкером – это свобода, это братство.
It's a brotherhood, and it's incredible every time you're with your friends. For me, the Ukrainian biker community is like a second family. I know that I can rely on these people because we can not only hang out together, but go for a walk, ride, spend time, and also support each other in difficult moments. If possible, I always use a bike whenever I can. I use it to get to work, when I go on my business trips, and practically everywhere when it's warm. We say to each other, friends, we don't have to hurry. We must see these beauties around, and we should be seen by people. Who are bikers? We are bikers. These are the guys in leather vests on beautiful bikes with a beautiful smile and probably with such shiny doodads. Before, we didn't use the word bike. It is an English word, and accordingly, people who rode bikes were called motorcyclists. Today, the majority of people communicate in English, in one way or the other, and everybody knows the word bike, hence, we are bikers. The organized biker movement originated in the mid-20th century in the United States. Various clubs began to emerge. The famous American biker culture is MS clubs. These are clubs with a strict management vertical, clubs whose members rode and communicated a lot.
Что касается этого движения на постсоветском пространстве, в Украине в частности, они были всегда...
As for this movement in the post-Soviet space, in Ukraine in particular, they have always been around. They were here in the middle of the 20th century and at the beginning of the 21st century. Maybe the motorcycles were not that beautiful, but bikers always tried to cover distances on two wheels with the wind in their faces.
Меня очень много спрашивали, а как же так?
I've been asked a lot, how is it? How did it happen? Because everyone has a wrong association portrayed by American movies about the fact that they're brutal, huge men, always drunk. In fact, we also have beautiful young girls on motorcycles. There are also slender, young, handsome guys.
Стройные, молодые, красивые парни.
It is interesting that when a girl who rides a motorcycle wearing a paint and a minimum of makeup and even a bandana and a helmet, she would still have a trace of dust on her face and clothes. It looks so sexy. It is much more interesting than a girl in a cocktail dress with a glass of champagne and with an ideal styling and makeup.
Это выглядит настолько секси. Намного интереснее, чем девушка в коктейльном платье с бокалом шампанского.
At the age of 17, I joined a biker community. I did not have my own motorcycle back then. I was riding a bike with my friends. We rode all across Ukraine and all the way to Crimea, but the desire to have my own bike became greater with every day.
Байк у меня уже 1,5 года.
I have owned my bike for a year and a half now. I got it quite spontaneously. I first wanted a motorcycle at the age of 18-19. This was not a very serious desire, but then I went through some dramatic changes in my life, internal changes. I went to a driving school where I paid for 10 lessons, but even after the first lesson I realized that I would buy my own motorcycle because it was me. Actually, it's enough to try once and you already understand if it is your thing or not. I used to believe that riding a motorcycle in some way contradicts one's common sense and is against the instinct of self-preservation. But then once I was discussing with a friend of mine different interesting bikes that are available on the market, but we didn't have those models here in our market. And then we decided that we would buy motorcycles for ourselves. I bought one, but my friend didn't, and to this day he only talks about it. As soon as I started riding riding a motorcycle, I understood that a person sees new horizons and has new acquaintances because you acquire new interests that connect absolutely different people who wouldn't have an opportunity to communicate in everyday life if it wasn't for their common interest in bikes. In our club, for example, we have an age gap of 30 years between different members, and trust me, it is very unlikely that we could have met anywhere else and today communicate as friends. The bikers share a culture of mutual assistance on the road, and it does not matter what club you belong to or what kind of motorcycle you ride. If you see that someone needs help, you will pull over and help your so-called moto bro.
Мотоциклы делятся на много видов, ну и, соответственно, подвидов.
Motorcycles can be divided into many types and subtypes. Those are light motorcycles, sports bikes, cruisers, off-road and cross-country motorcycles. There is a wide range of bikes. We subdivide motorcycles into beautiful and very beautiful. We believe that every bike has its own soul, and it's not a secret that many bikers talk to their motorcycles. I had a problem on the night of the closing of a motor season which our club held. There was an attempt to steal my bike in a guarded parking lot with cameras, with a barrier, with security. I took it to my apartment. The whole process took 2.5 hours. We barely managed to put it into a freight elevator, but finally it worked out.
Перегнала себе в квартиру. Занял процесс 2,5 часа. С трудом поместили в грузовой лифт, но тем не менее это получилось.
But I go every morning with a coffee and say, "Hello, my dear." I stroke my motorcycle. We have our own level of communication.
На каком-то своем уровне.
I have a touring. I have a classic American motorcycle, the biggest, the heaviest, and the most interesting bike there is, in my opinion. The first motorcycle I had was also American. It was one of the cheapest of the line with a relatively small engine volume, 800 cubic centimeters. I spent about half a year riding it. It was my first training motorcycle, but unfortunately, it's hard for me to ride on our roads. When I had my first bike, I didn't change anything there. I only adjusted a few visually interesting elements. It was a light visual tuning. In Ukraine, there are at least 5-7 companies that specialize in this, though I cannot honestly say that this is what they do for a living, because we don't have a well-developed culture of customization. And it's quite expensive here, and many people just don't understand this. But with time, there are more and more motorcycles that are not straight from the factory, but also those which underwent some tuning.
С какими-то доделками, с элементами какого-то правильного кастома и тому подобные вещи.
У меня пока единственный мотоцикл, Deuce. Это довольно эксклюзивная уже модель. Они перестали.
I have only one motorcycle so far. It is a Deuce. This is a rather exclusive model that is no longer being produced. My bike is quite convenient for the city. I'm satisfied with all of its technical characteristics, and naturally, as soon as I bought it, I started doing the tuning. This process is never-ending as long as you start it. So in a couple of years, your bike is the personification of the biker himself.
Каждый байк — это отражение души самого байкера.
External things are more likely a symbol of involvement in a particular subculture. A leather jacket is not just a symbol of bikers, and it's not a coincidence that it is called the biker's leather jacket. But first of all, it serves rather like an item of comfort and convenience rather than an element of clothing culture. Patches are more like memorable signs which people keep for themselves in order to remember, because every trip is special and unique.
В последнее время я веду речь о периоде 20-25 лет.
Lately, I'm talking about the period of 20-25 years. The bikers movement in Ukraine, of course, as in the whole world, is growing. A lot of clubs have been established and their exact number is difficult to calculate. The bikers movement is mostly localized in regional centers, Kiev in particular. Dnipro is famous for its bikers movement. Lviv is also no exception. Kharkiv, Odessa. There are the cities that have a large number of motorcycle owners.
Одесса — это те города, которые имеют большое количество владельцев мотоциклов.
Учился управлять
I
мотоциклом.
learned how to drive a motorcycle. I attended courses probably for a month and a half. I was taught the basics and then everything else comes naturally, so to speak, but with experience as well. It's impossible to study all this on the streets because it's very likely to end sadly or with consequences for some innocent third parties. Undoubtedly, one should study at special sites and not with a friend who learned to ride a year ago and offers to teach you to ride. It should be with people who understand physics, the mechanics of the movement in general, how a motorcycle should ride, how it behaves on different surfaces, what the difference is between two wheels in a contrast to the four wheels, and so on.
Что такое два колеса в отличие от четырех?
Самое главное было
The
почувствовать.
most important thing was to feel the motorcycle, to become one with it, to get certain skills, certain peculiarities of riding. When I first rode my motorcycle, it was much heavier than the training bike, and of course I was a little cautious at the very beginning, but in a couple of days I got used to it.
А самое главное, что когда я начинала свое обучение, у меня было дикое желание, потому что мотоцикл у меня уже был.
The most important thing when I started my training, I had a big desire. I already had a motorcycle, so there was no turning back. Of course, because the bike was there waiting for me. I trained every day for 2 hours with a professional instructor. Well, it took about a month and a half. As soon as I finished my training, I went to the motor festival myself, and then I went to Odessa and Lviv.
И потом начала уже ездить в Одессу, во Львов.
Во всем мире люди, объединенные одной идеей,
All over the world, people are united by one idea and, of course, hold joint holidays and joint events. The largest festival, as it turned out historically, is the Daytona Bikers Rally. According to organizers, this event gathers 350 organizers at the same time in one place.
10 мотоциклов единовременно. Вторым по уровню, по истории, по количеству мотоциклистов является Стурженс. На этих слетах мне посчастливилось.
The second in number is the event named Sturgeons. I was lucky to be there. Indeed, the event is colossal. There is a huge number of people who you understand and share common interests with. There is a lot of good music and good mood. In Ukraine, there are also several major events and other similar events. For now, the number of people who attend this event is not so high, but it is growing.
Пока что немножко меньше, но все растет.
На мой взгляд, суть владения мотоциклом.
In my opinion, the essence of motorcycle ownership is a journey. But I know that there are people who use their bikes for short distances, like going from their home to a coffee shop, and they have absolutely uncomfortable seating. I don't know if they go somewhere far, but we certainly do.
Не знаю, ездят ли эти ребята на этих мотоциклах куда-то. Мы точно ездим.
We go one by one, we go in groups, and we often cover hundreds of thousands of kilometers in a year.
Километров в год у нас клуб преодолевает.
The year before last, we rode in a group. We were in 8 or 9 countries and covered 7,000 kilometers.
Наверное, 1007 километров. Из Киева доехали до Австрии.
From Kiev, we reached Austria. Then we traveled through Italy, Luxembourg, and almost reached Holland. Then we went through Poland and returned to Ukraine through Germany.
В Украину.
Никогда не возникло мысли о том, что это не мое или нужно
I
оставить.
never thought that this was not my thing or that I had to abandon it. When you feel that this is your life, despite various difficulties, you go further no matter what barriers there might be.
И на преграды вы идете дальше.